night may be long and the dark may be deep, but the answers are there to be found. Whether it's the normal, the abnormal, or the paranormal, you're in the right place. Let's go beyond reality.
We have a jam-packed night tonight.
Yeah.
We do. We've got Dee Snyder coming on. Dee, of course, we're not gonna take it. Snyder.
Yes.
And
Twisted Sister.
Yeah, and Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos coming on. Kathleen is the author of a book that is called Dreams That Can Save Your Life, and it's an exploration of how dreams can actually help diagnose and heal you if there's illness. She's a 3-time breast cancer survivor. So we've got a lot of stuff to fit in just a 2-hour show here tonight.
Yeah, she's been through a lot, and just to see how strong she is and everything else is just amazing, and it'll be an honor to talk with her as well, let alone, come on, talking with Dee.
I know. I'm so excited about both of these conversations, and I'm always excited about our guests, but this is a particularly great night. And I will mention that tomorrow night we've got Blanche Barton coming on. Blanche is a Magistra Templi Rex of the Church of Satan. We're going to be discussing Satanism, magic, and Anton LaVey. And I know this is always a controversial topic.
Well, yeah, but people got to understand that this show is open to all things, and whether you might not have the same belief as somebody in that area, you at least should hear them out. And I think that that's what a lot of society's missing these days, and I think you'd agree with that, JV.
Yeah, it's, we don't have to agree, we don't have to necessarily accept, but we certainly can listen. We just had a major Supreme Court case that was all about people agreeing and disagreeing, or agreeing to disagree. And you know what? I don't even want to get into it. But the bottom line is it'd be a much better place if we all just if we listened to each other and heard each other's arguments and agreed to disagree at times.
That's correct.
Right?
And then Thursday, we're going to be doing, for the first hour, readings with Rebecca Foster. So you'll want to call in early, because those lines always get lit up. In the second hour, we're going to be talking with Kelly Carlin. Now, Carlin might sound familiar because she's the daughter of the legendary comedian George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin, and I don't know if this is the case just because it happened to be when I was growing up, but George Carlin to me is the second half of the 20th century's premier comedian. After all the comedians that came, in the 50s and prior to that, the Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, those guys, you've got some people that just kind of defined what stand-up comedy was for many generations. I think George Carlin was one of those. Eddie Murphy was one of those. I mean, there's a bunch of them that fall into that category. Steve Martin. But I think George Carlin may have the edge on all that. I think he was one of the first to really, really bring it home, particularly because he was one of the first to do it on Saturday Night Live, which just introduced comedy to a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, if you haven't yet, head over to facebook.com/Beyond Reality Radio, like the Facebook page. Then head to beyondrealityradio.com, where you can find all the stations we air on across the country. You can download the free iPhone and Android app right there. Allows you to listen live, catch past shows, join the online chat, and more. Or just click the pop-up button in the upper right-hand corner of the website, and you can listen to the show right from the website. But with that, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get our guest. You ready for this?
Are you going to put on a big hair wig?
Yeah, maybe.
You should
all I got to do is take off my shirt and just pull it up. All right, you're listening to Jason and JV. We'll be back after this.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to Beyond Reality Paranormal. I'm your host, JV Johnson. I'm going to ask that you support this program. The easiest way to do that, by the way, is if you're listening as a podcast, you just open up the description of the episode and you scroll down to the bottom. And at the bottom, there is a link that says support this podcast. If you click on that, you'll be taken to a page that gives you a couple of options for supporting the show. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us bring great programs to you every week, and we look forward to continuing to do that. And if you're enjoying the program on YouTube, there's another way you can support the show. Just go to the description. You'll see a link to a Patreon page. It's Johaw, Johaw. And if you go to the Patreon page, you'll be able to pledge an amount to help support the show as well. Once again, thanks for your support. Thank you for listening. Please share it with your friends. All right, welcome back to the show. It's Beyond Reality Radio, Jason and JV. And Jay, we've been excited about this next guest for a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, I love him. I love his music, and I've really been looking forward to this.
And we're having him on the show not just because he's going to be a guest at the upcoming Scaricon event in Framingham, Massachusetts, June 16th and 17th, but also because he's just a really cool guy. You know him from Twisted Sister. You know him from Strangeland. You also know him from Holliston, the TV show. But more than that, you know him as the man whose hair defined a generation. Of course, I'm talking about the one and only Dee Snyder. Dee, welcome to the program.
If it wasn't scraping the walls, it wasn't big enough. That's what I always say. You know, if you have to turn, I had to turn sideways to walk down a narrow hallway. You know, that's how big the hair was.
I can see that in some of the videos and some of the pictures. Absolutely.
Well, you know, everybody over 30, okay, maybe 35 now, remembers when MTV actually played music videos. And the video that probably defined it more than anything was the "We're Not Gonna Take It" video. I mean, you really set the stage for a generation. And whenever somebody says the word hairband or the phrase hairband, I immediately think of that video and you, D.
Well, you know, I mean, there are bands there are artists who artists. What a terrible word. There are these guys who get offended when they hear the term hairband. But as the original hair farmer and as the person that they literally the term was based on, I accept it with great pride. When we came out, we weren't imitating anybody. We were just Twisted Sister. I mean, if anybody, there's this documentary out called "We Are a Twisted Blanking Sister." It's on Netflix, highly rated, and the band started in 1973.
Wow.
There was no Motley Crue or Rat or any of those bands around. We were just these 5 crazy dudes in New York, you know, dressing up and getting in fights every night because we were just so weird.
Well, and Jimmy doesn't do any justice saying anybody over 35, but Jim, last month I had my sons in the car, and Logan, one of my twin sons, he's 13 and now he's 14. He was listening to Twisted Sister on his iPhone and wanted to hook it up through the car radio and play it.
It is multi-generational and it is timeless. D, how did you said the band started in 73, but how did you set your sights on that particular goal?
Well, you know, I mean, for me, I mean, this is one of those questions. I just, as a very young kid, I just wanted to get attention, and rock and roll seemed a really good way to do it. But I quickly learned that, you weren't guaranteed attention when you played in these crappy little bars and clubs or even at high school dances and things like that, The bands didn't necessarily you had to command that attention, so I just started doing anything and everything to get it. And at some point, just dressing up in the most insane, I mean, literally wearing women's clothing. Literally wearing women's clothing. And believe me, people pay attention when a 6-foot-some guy walks into the room wearing a pair of fishnet stockings and garters. It's like, wait a minute. Wait, what just happened?
I think in retrospect, we can all call it genius more than anything else. So the band itself and the music career, I mean, that's a lifestyle that takes a little getting used to, isn't it?
It's a commitment, and and people. Certainly there's the party commitment, but then there's those of us who are forced to take it very seriously, and I was because of my voice. Screaming the way I did and singing the way but it was singing. As Marie Osmond once said on a show called Celebrity Duet, said, when Dee screams, it's a note. He was saying that to Hal Sparks at the time. But anyway, it was a lot of abuse on the voice, and as a result, I had to sort of commit to not having fun. And people go, oh man, rock and roll. No, for me, I left it all on the stage, and then would have to get the hell out of there and get to sleep and rest my voice and work and vocalize and do all these things to make sure that I could sing the next night, because it was so tough to sing that way night after night. It still is.
Yeah, I can't imagine how you do that. I'm a musician and a singer myself, and I'm at the point in my life where I sing 2 gigs in a weekend. I don't talk for a week. I can't do it. So I can't imagine that style. I mean, that has not only rough, but I mean, like you said, you have to commit to it every day. At what point did you move from music to TV film projects? There was a transition there at some point.
Oh yeah, it was called grunge. When they found a cure for what I was doing. It was literally like they cured a disease. It was like you woke up one day and they go, "Oh yeah, we're not doing that anymore." And you go, "Wait, what?" And they go, "Yeah, we don't sing like that. We don't perform like that. We don't look like that. We don't have songs like that." And I'm now married. I got 3 kids, and the bottom fell out. I mean, and it's like, well, what am I going to do now? And I started seeing what my options were, and I found careers in voiceover. My burnt-out, raspy voice worked really good for commercial use and things like that. And then radio and television, and I started writing movies. I've been on Broadway and doing all those things, and found other avenues to express myself and to survive. Basically.
I have to ask you about a personal relationship that you've got, because I got one side of this particular story, and I think your side's going to be equally moving. A friend of mine, Adam Green, is a friend of yours. And I was visiting him out in L.A. A month, maybe 2 months ago now, and he was telling me how you were such an inspiration to him, and you really are the person he credits with his success in his career and his motivation in his career. And, he clearly looks up to you and cherishes that relationship. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Adam Green.
Yeah, I mean, Adam came into my life in a very strange way. I got this email one day, and it was from an email address I did not recognize. And usually I've got it's very simple. I have friends peers who are constantly changing their phone numbers, constantly changing their email addresses. And I go, there's a block feature? You don't have to take the call. Anyway, but so I normally just spam a weird email, but it said, "Nice to meet you again," was the subject. And so I was like, again? And I said, and I opened it, and it was a letter from Adam Green. He got my email address from a friend, a mutual friend, and he told me this whole story about how, starting very young, he's been inspired by me, and how many times during his life, his career was moving forward was falling apart, and he had run into me, whether it was at an in-store or at a concert event, and I once answered, and I very rarely answer letters, but I got a letter from him. It was so passionate, I wrote back, and he says, "And you have cheered me on at times where I was just giving up." And in your letter to me, and he sent me the letter. He goes, which is laminated and hangs over my desk. He goes, you encouraged me to keep going with my film career. And you said you're going to do it, and one day when you do, we're going to hang together at the premiere of your movie, and we're going to celebrate. And he goes, I just want you to know that my movie's premiering. My movie, Hatchet, is premiering at Tribeca Film Festival, and thank you for cheering me on. And he had his phone number on there. I called him up, and he answered the phone. He goes, "Hello?" I said, "Where's the party?" And he said, "What?" I said, "This is Dee Snyder." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I told you one day your movie's going to premiere, and we're going to hang out at the after party. Well, where's the party?" And he was like, and he gives me the address, and I showed up. And I was there. I walked the red carpet with him, and we've been friends ever since. And Adam tells the story at length, but I've always felt I was a cheerleader, either with my music songs like "We're Not Going to Take It." I was screaming to everybody. It wasn't just "I'm not going to take it." It was "We're not going to take it." Stand up, fight back, don't cave, never surrender. I'm that kind of guy. So when I meet any of my fans and they tell me they're having troubles, I'm just like, "Get in there, man! Go, go, go! Never give up." And for Adam, it was just the words he needed to make things happen for him.
Well, and it's really, honestly, that song defined a whole decade for a lot of people as well, and I think it was important.
Well, apparently it's defining, and I mean, that was the only song I've written with that sort of emotion. My songs weren't about sex and drugs and rock and roll. They were about fighting back, standing up, believing in yourself, those kind of things. And there were messages that not only that I was for myself, but they were also for the people who I just hope I knew people were out there like me who needed someone to tell them that, they don't got to. And just like now, I'm releasing a new record. It's coming out July 27th. First single just came out off of it, and it's called "For the Love of Metal." And there's a lot of music on there that has that same motivation and inspiration for people, because even though now I'm doing great and I feel fine, I know that there are people out there who need the voice of Dee Snyder to say, fight back, stand up, never surrender. People never got to keep hearing that message.
Well, and it's a great new track that you're coming out with as well, and Tomorrow's No Concern, and it's phenomenal to see some of the older generation bringing back the music that I grew up with through the 80s and the 90s, and it's just great to see it again.
Well, this record, the new record is Jamie Josta, who's from the New England area, from Hatebreed. He literally challenged me to do a contemporary metal album, and he brought in all people from Lamb of God, Disturbed, Killswitch Engage, all these contemporary metal bands to create with this contemporary record with, and this is his words, not my words, my iconic voice. Okay, he's the one who said it, not me.
Well, it's true.
It hasn't released yet, but the reaction to Tomorrow's No Concern, which is very metal, and I've just been doing interviews for this record, and people who are hearing it are flipping out because it's a contemporary metal sound with my voice as a part of it.
We're going to continue our conversation here with Dee Snyder in just a moment. Coming up in a bit, however, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos will join us. She's a 3-time breast cancer survivor, a life guidance coach, inspirational speaker, and author. Her book is called Dreams That Can Save Your Life, and it's an exploration of dreams as a spiritual early warning system and a source of healing and inner guidance for your health and your well-being. So again, we're talking with Dee Snyder, Twisted Sister, obviously, Strangeland, Holliston, many, many other projects. We're really happy to have him here. He's going to be part of the Scaricon convention coming up in Framingham, Massachusetts at Scaricon, New England. And Dee, you're no stranger to New England. In fact, I would say New England is no stranger to you.
I used to do radio in Hartford. Didn't it spill over, my radio show, morning radio show, spill over into, you said Framingham?
Yeah.
I think I spilled over into that area.
Had to.
I seem to remember getting emails and calls from people there.
Well, and when you used to do radio out there, I believe you talked with my co-host, my co-star from my show Ghost Hunters, Steve Gonzalez, a couple times as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, man, yeah. So I'm doing so much up in that area, and I'm just looking forward to coming back. Because, the Northeast is, I'm originally from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, the tri-state area, and then working on radio up in Connecticut, and I've had just such great relationships. Throughout literally decades, and the Northeast is sort of my main corridor of power, if you want to say that. So it's always exciting to come back there because I don't live in New York anymore. I'm in parts unknown.
Yeah, well, and Jimmy and I are both originally from upstate New York, and I live in Rhode Island, which is only about 30, 45 minutes from Framingham, where Scaricon's going to be going. So I'm going to be up there as well, hanging out with everybody.
Hey, Dee, I've got to bring you back to the Adam Green question for 1 second, because one of my favorite pieces of work of yours is that character in Holliston, Lance Rocket, which is kind of a tongue-in-cheek poke at musicians in general. But I love what you did in Holliston. I'm cheering for Adam and actually working with him, hoping that we can somehow get season 3 underway. But that character is just phenomenal.
Lance Rocket. I mean, when and the Holliston project is great. And when Adam called me, like I said, we became went from being this fan, hero relationship to just becoming great friends, since first meeting and connecting, and we're kindred spirits, So he asked me to play this part of Lance Rocket, and he said, it's this guy, this middle-aged guy who's still living in the past and literally walking around. It's the 2000s, and he's in spandex and makeup at work. And I was like this, and he plays in a Van Halen tribute band called Diver Down, and he's just and he just can't let it go. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be great. I'm going to get to make fun of every one of these wannabe '80s rock stars. I said I can't wait to do this. Day one, we're at the studio, the set. It's a former Desilu Studios, and I'm in the dressing room, and I am putting on what I consider to be the lamest 80s rock outfit ever. The striped spandex pants, the cowboy boots, the pleather, sleeveless leather biker jacket, red, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The studded wristbands. I've got the makeup. I've got the gloss, everything that I did not do in the 80s. Everything that was just so you could go down to the local hairband clothing store and buy off the rack. This is the stuff I'm wearing. Now I'm dressed up. I'm walking to the set, and some grip from another show yells, "Yo, D, still rocking the outfit." And I am mortified. I'm mortified that A, he thinks I'm walking around looking like this. B, this is what he thinks I look like. I said, this is the old, they all look the same to me thing, you know what I mean? This is like, and I'm like, I literally had to be coaxed out of my dressing room. I was curled up in the fetal position under the makeup desk table. And Adam's going, really, people are going to get it. People are going to get it, D. They're going to realize you're making fun of them. Thank you for saying that. I was parodying all the 80s guys. Thank you.
Well, you play that part phenomenally. You bring this eternal optimism to the character, that he's going to make it, and there's a certain naivete in it as well. And you actually, I think, recorded a song and a video for that too, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Diver Down did a video and a song called "Love It Down Your Throat."
Right, that's right.
"Love It Down," written by Adam Green.
That was awesome.
And most 80s derivative, sexual innuendo filled. It's not even innuendo; it's friggin' so obvious.
Yeah.
In the video, there's literally people getting hit in the face with sparkles that are being shot from my crotch. And it's just like men, women, just like horror icons are in there. It's just like all these people. And my son Cody, who is a director. As a matter of fact, he studied under Adam Green, and he's doing his first feature film for New Line right now. But he directed the video, and he just wanted to sort of capture all the 80s stupidity and excess in one video, because that defines Lance Rocket and Diver Down for sure.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. We've kept you too long here. You're going to be at Scaricon in Framingham, Massachusetts, June 16th and 17th. That's coming up very quickly. And I know you've got music being released. You said July 27th. What other projects do you have going on that people should keep their eye open for?
I'm a man who does many, many things, and I'm also working, off the camera in a production capacity. And I have a new production company. We've just sold our first animated children's show to Netflix.
Oh, wow.
The impetus of it was, can we create a cartoon show for little kids that parents won't want to kill themselves watching? And as a parent and now a grandparent, there's many shows I want to kill myself watching.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm actually writing all the music for the show, and I can't tell you a lot about it, but it's about a little monster rock band, and that's going into production. We have our first major production meeting this Friday, as a matter of fact. And then we got 3 horror films in various stages of funding and pre-production that I'm involved in. Some I've created, some we're just producing for others. And one thing which I can't announce yet, which is crazy, is we're closing a deal on rebooting, remaking, relaunching one of the greatest horror franchises of all time. My new production company has got the rights to this franchise, and I can't announce it yet because I want to make sure we close the deal before someone else tries to take it from us. And so there's going to be a lot going on in the world of horror, film-wise, with me. And yes, one of the things that we're all working on is finally getting the sequel to Strangeland made. So a lot in the world of horror. So get ready for that.
Oh, that's all exciting. We're looking forward to it.
That's great. Dee, thank you so much for spending the time with us here tonight, and also thank you for agreeing to join us at Scaricon in a couple weeks. I'm looking forward to shaking your hand and saying hello, and I know a lot of people are feeling the same way about that.
Like I said, we're really looking forward to. They love the con environment. It's a great chance. We're in a business where we work at a distance. You know what I mean? We put out a record or we do a concert, and there's that distance between us and the audience. Yeah, there's occasional meet and greet, but the cons are really opportunity to meet the fans. And I'm not that guy who just like, you do like a walk by with a wave. I like to engage the fans and get and just sort of connect with them, and it's just a great opportunity. So looking forward to it.
We look forward to it. I look forward to meeting you, and thanks so much for coming on. I look forward to talking to you again.
Great talking to you, and just for the record, I will not be rocking the outfit. Okay? So I'm not rocking the outfit.
Fair enough.
All right, man.
Fair
Take
enough.
it easy.
All right.
D. Snyder, I mean, you can't go wrong. He's just a phenomenal individual, and it should be a great time.
He's a great guy, and I'm looking. This will be my first time to meet him, and but I know his work, I know his projects. I've I shared the story about Adam Green sharing his experience with D, and that alone is inspirational. I will tell you, if you haven't checked out Adam Green's website, do so for his production company. He's got a series of short videos on there called Scary Sleepover, and one of them is with D. Snyder. And in the beginning of each of these Scary Sleepover videos that he does, there is an intro about the person he's going to feature, and the one about D. Snyder will bring you to tears, I promise.
Well, and it's funny, actually, Adam's trying to get Steve and I to do that sleepover thing, so we'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to bring you, JV.
All right, well, we're gonna go to break here. When we come back, we'll bring our next guest in, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, and we'll talk about her book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life. It's Beyond Reality Radio with Jason and JV. When you listen to this program, you hear many interesting guests who discuss many interesting topics. Most of those guests have books, movies, or other work that support their ideas. And we've made it very easy for you to find that work. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/JVJ Taps. Not only will you find the books and other work of our guests, but you'll help support this program at the same time. Again, it's Amazon.com/shop/JVJ Taps. You'll also see links in the description of this episode that you can click on. We can only scratch the surface of many of these topics, and the real knowledge is what you'll find in the pages or frames of our guests' efforts. So click the link and browse, and hey, thanks for listening. Really cool guy, and I just love the hairband thing, that whole phase, just great stuff.
I thought he had a lot of energy back in the '80s when he was really rocking it. I mean, and he's cranking along still to this day.
He is nonstop energy, but thank you again to him. So now we're going to turn our attention to dreams. Our guest is Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, and she is an author, a motivational speaker, also a 3-time breast cancer survivor. Her website, by the way, is her name, and the book we're going to be talking about is Dreams That Can Save Your Life. Kathleen, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. Great to have you on tonight.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason and JV. I'm pleased to be here. And I see you're talking about my hometown area of New England in Framingham.
Oh, is that where you're from?
Well, we live up in Cape Cod in the summer, and my husband was born in that area, the Framingham area, Newton, Mass.
Oh, yeah, of course. So that's really cool. Yeah, we have an event going on there the weekend of the 16th and 17th. It's a little bit of a convention. It's a really, really great place. So we're excited about that. So in addition to that connection, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm actually a military brat. I was born and raised in Europe. My dad was a Green Beret, and I came back from Europe to go to college in Keene, New Hampshire. And the only place I'd ever been in the United States was Fort Devens, Massachusetts, when I came back. So, again, the other connection up there in New England. And I've got to tell you, New England is one of the most haunted places I've ever been in my life, and I've been to a lot of them in Europe. But, I guess because it was the starting point of many things that happened in our country. And then I became a special ed teacher, and then I got married. My husband made me an offer I couldn't refuse. He paid me more to stay home with him and travel because he was a real estate developer. And then in 1999, I started having nightmares, and those nightmares were telling me that I had breast cancer when I had perfectly healthy physical exams up until that point, and even after that nightmare, it took me 3.5 months to get an exploratory surgery that proved that I did have breast cancer. That's what the nightmares were about, and that ended up in the book that I wrote, Dreams That Can Save Your Life, Early Warning Signs of Cancer and Other Diseases that I wrote with Dr. Larry Burke, Duke University radiologist.
Wow, so the dreams were very much, they were like a premonition of warning you of things pending. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had premonition dreams, and they can also be diagnostic dreams. In other words, and this was something that another listener on another program brought up, what if the dreams that you had about your breast cancer were because you already had it, and although it wasn't showing up on any medical tests, no mammograms, no blood tests, doctors couldn't feel anything, your body knew you had it and was speaking to you through your dreams, which I absolutely agree with. I think that absolutely was happening, which again, early warning signs of cancer and other diseases, our body knows what's going on inside of it. But then it gets a little tricky when you get to precognitive dreams. For instance, my precognitive dream didn't come true for 5 years. And then dreaming with others, where in our book we had mothers and daughters dreaming each other's breast cancers, but it wasn't happening in their bodies.
We only have a couple minutes before we have to take our top of the hour break, so I don't want to get into too much detail yet because we've got a lot to cover. But, surviving cancer one time is an accomplishment. Twice is almost unheard of. Three times, Kathleen. How does somebody process that and come out on the other side of 3 scares like that with such a great attitude, A, and B, the ability to take that message to so many other people?
Well, the short answer to that, because we're going to break, is you take your lemons, you make lemonade, you go find somebody who took their rotten potatoes and made vodka, and you have a heck of a party.
Okay. Yeah, well, and I guess you have to. We are talking with Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, and we're going to continue our conversation. Her book is called Dreams That Can Save Your Life, and we're going to figure out what exactly that means when we come back from the break. We've got plenty to talk about. Visit the website as well. Don't forget the phone number is 844-687-7669. We will take your questions later in the program when we open up the phone lines, because this discussion will get very, very interesting. We'll also remind you that tomorrow night we've got Blanche Barton coming on the program. Blanche will be discussing the Church of Satan. This is something that is very, very controversial. Jay, you and I have had other people on, and we've had people get upset about the conversations, but hey, we let people tell their story, and people make up their own minds.
Well, I'm the same guy who a year ago, when we had somebody from the Church of Satan on, I got them to admit that they didn't believe in Satan. So it worked out fine for us. So, it did. If you haven't yet, make sure you head over to facebook.com/Beyond Reality Radio, like the Facebook page for us. Then head to BeyondRealityRadio.com, where you can find all the stations we are on across the country, and that list is constantly being updated with new stations being added all the time. So check it often. You can also download the free iPhone and Android app right there, which allows you to listen live, catch past shows, join the online chat, and more. Or you can listen right from the website by clicking the pop-up button in the upper right-hand corner, and connects you to an online chat, and you can listen right there from the website while hanging out with a great community of people while listening to the show. If you download the show from iTunes or anywhere else, do us a favor and just rate it for us, because it helps push the show forward and makes it easier for people to find, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff there. Make sure you spend some time on the website and check it out. Thursday night, we've got a couple of guests coming on to the program, and one of the things that makes Thursday kind of unique for us is that it's the first of our new feature that we're going to have once a month. It'll be the first Thursday of every month. It's called Readings with Rebecca, and if you remember Rebecca Foster, she's been a guest on the program a couple of times. She's a psychic medium. She'll be taking your calls right from the get-go on Thursday night. We'll open the phones up right away, take your calls. She'll be doing readings for the first hour of the program. And then in the second hour, this is kind of a treat too. Kelly Carlin, who is the daughter of the legendary comedian George Carlin. Everybody knows George Carlin. In fact, wasn't it George Carlin who's one of his famous routines was the 7 words you can't say?
Yes.
Yeah, which is very, very appropriate for our radio show.
Oh, yeah, it works out perfect. So
you know what we haven't talked about in a long time, and it's just completely slipped my mind, is what national day it is.
Oh, God, you and this calendar. What is it?
I did. Well, then this as we look at both the 5th and 6th.
Sea Monkey Day.
Because that was a few weeks ago. I don't know. That was whenever that
was. Wear your
was.
sunglasses at night day. Yeah, that's the other.
Don't act all like indignant about this. This is
Broad Day.
interesting.
What is it?
Man Broad Day. It's a combination of days. It's National Running Day, but it's also National Moonshine Day, and I can't help but wonder if those two things are connected.
Because you put moonshine and nobody can run. You just fall over.
Yeah, but when you were making moonshine, you'd have to run. If law enforcement came around, you'd be taken off.
It's funny that you bring that up because my wife, she's from the South, and her family was notorious moonshiners, and they still own a lot of land on a couple mountains out there. But and they had this whole routine. I met a couple of them one time. Let me tell you, the family tree is really weird. And they used to shoot the shotgun off to give the rest of the family warning that the police were coming up the mountain. And her family is different. And don't get me wrong, she's got a great family. She was related to Johnny Cash and all that stuff. But that whole other side of the family is kind of questionable.
I'm not going to ask any questions. I don't want to get in trouble.
I mean, I think the family tree is like a 2x4.
So, I
don't
know.
Happy she married out of the family.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that. The other thing is it's drive-in movie day, and I'll tell you what. I mean, the old drive-in days. Those were a cool way to go see a movie.
If you actually watched it.
Yeah, well, that was that too. That was made it fun. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be talking with our guest, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, in just a moment. I'm having such trouble. I have a friend, Kanavos. So every time I see Kathleen's last name, I want to say that. But she's the author of a book that's called Dreams That Can Save Your Life. And we're going to continue that conversation in just a moment. I want to remind you that tomorrow night we've got Blanche Barton coming on the program. Blanche is a Magistra Templi Rex of the Church of Satan. We're going to be discussing Satanism, magic, and Anton LaVey. Again, a very controversial topic.
Going to be a very interesting show.
And Thursday night, Readings with Rebecca will take the first hour, and then Kelly Carlin, daughter of George Carlin, will join us for the second hour.
All right, so let's bring our guest back in, Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos. Are we pronouncing that correct?
Kanavos.
It's close. It's cannabis, sort of like the stuff you smoke.
Okay.
But that's cannabis, and it's not the stuff we smoke. Hang on, let's chill out with that.
This is cannabis. So, Kathleen, I've got to ask you, the book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life. Mm-hmm. First of all, we've kind of touched on, the reason you wrote it, but let's back up a little bit. Tell the story again of how you had dreams that affected you personally. It made you aware of an illness that you had, and this was the beginning of the story here, as in terms of writing the book, right?
Yes. I had gone in for my yearly checkup. You go in, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. And you go to the doctor and you have blood tests and, physical exams, mammograms, all the fun things. And the doctors told me I was healthy and to go home. And that night, I started having this recurrent nightmare in which my dream would be going as usual, and then suddenly my dream would freeze, like the page on your computer, when your computer freezes. And then I would get a pop-up in my dream, just like a pop-up on your computer. And I could see through into that pop-up into another area that was moving, even though the rest of my dream was frozen, because time had actually stood still. And that window would become a door. And then through that door would walk a Franciscan monk, just like St. Francis of Assisi, the hooded monk.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and they'd walk up to me and they would say, come with us, we have something to tell you. And they would take me through that door into what I call the realm between realms, or the room between realms. And it's an area that is not of the living and not of the dead, but they can both go in there to converse. And they told me, the monks told me, that I had breast cancer, and then they took my hand, placed it on my breast, and said, "Do you feel that?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "That's breast cancer. Go back to your doctor and get a second set of tests." So I did. I went back to my doctor, and for the next 3 months, I kept being given mammograms, blood tests, physicals, the same tests I was given before. And my doctor said, "You're too young for breast cancer. It doesn't run in your family. I know you don't have breast cancer." And so finally, the last dream I had with the monks for that time period, when I saw them walk through that dream door, I started crying. And I said, "I know why you're here." and I've gone back to my doctors. I've done everything you've told me, but they're not listening, and I can't give myself some other type of tests. I can't do that. So if I do have breast cancer and you want me to live, do something to help me. And the monk reached into the sleeve of his robe, pulled out a tiny white feather, handed it to me, and said, if you go back to your doctors tomorrow, without an appointment, just show up on their doorstep, and you use this feather as though it were a sword to cut through their arguments, you're going to get the test you need, which now is exploratory surgery. And that's the only thing that's going to find the cancer. So long story short, I went back, and when the doctor started to argue, I used that feather. I imagined holding it between my fingers. I got the exploratory surgery, and I was in stage 2 breast cancer, aggressive breast cancer, with it already in a lymph node.
Oh, wow. And you think your subconscious mind is pretty much what alerted you to that?
I don't think so. I believe that there is another realm, that the earth plane is not the only realm we're in. Remember, it's like we are spiritual beings on the earth plane, but we are not in the earth plane. We are not of the earth plane. We came from somewhere else. We came from wherever we came from before we were born. And we can reconnect to that realm through our sacred dream doors. And that's what I did. And these monks, and I have no idea why monks, I'm not Catholic, nuns I might have been able to understand, but monks, these monks came through all the times when I was going through all 3 breast cancers, and they saved my life.
Were you certain they were monks, or was it just did they appear the way you would expect monks to look?
Well, they never told me they were monks. They never gave me their names, but they looked like Franciscan monks. They had the brown robes with the hoods that came up, the rope belts, the leather sandals. They all looked the same. And so I'm assuming when I was looking up who these people were, who were these people, because I'd never seen them really before, that's when I came upon the Franciscan monks. And when I saw their robes, I said, that's what this is.
Now, this whole concept of dreams not only diagnosing but helping heal isn't something new to humankind, right? The ancient Greeks and the Egyptians used to rely on this?
Oh, this has been going on for over 4,000 years. Imhotep, who was the high priest of the god Ra in Egypt, started the dreaming temples. And the ancient Egyptians would go there, find their priest or high priest, and ask them to sleep on the floor of the temple beside them. And they would do tandem dreaming. And in the tandem dreaming, they would share a dream that would answer questions, whether they were health questions. Perhaps a woman couldn't get pregnant. Perhaps a man wanted to know if he should do a certain job or move to another area of Egypt. And they would do this dreaming together in these dream temples. And then when they would wake up in the morning, many of the people who came there could not read and write. So they would have the priest or somebody else write down their dream for them, and then they would take that dream to an interpreter for dream analysis, because they put so much stock into the dreams. And then it shifted into ancient Rome, where the Asclepian temples, named after Asclepius, the god of health and healing, and those temples started popping up all over the place, and those became dream temples again. And the people did the same thing. They would go into the temple, the priest would sleep beside them, they would write down the dream in the morning, it would be interpreted, and people continued to do this. And some of those temples in Greece are still there, and they have become health spas.
Well, and this is an ability that seems to have been lost throughout, the thousands of years, correct? I mean, I know that there are people out there who still do this, but it's such a rarity to find that. It's almost as if we've lost that ability.
I think we did, because we thought that we outgrew it. We became so advanced. But I think that my dream and the 40 other dreams in this book prove that the dreams were validated by pathology reports. So, the medical tests that the doctors were using were fallible. They were missing the diseases, but the dreams were pointing them out. The people believed in their dreams. Of the 20 women who were in Dr. Larry Burke's dream study, breast cancer dream study group, only one woman listened to her doctor when the doctor said, you don't have breast cancer, we're not finding anything, go home, come back in 6 months, I don't want to see you again. And she did, and she died of breast cancer. The rest of the women in the study group stood in that power. They were really a pain in the neck. I mean, if you guys have wives, when your wife knows she's right and you're trying to convince her that she's not, it can get kind of sticky there. And so many of the women in this book and many of the dreamers in this book, a lot of which are men, stood in their power, and they refused to take no for an answer, and they refused to be dismissed. And because of that, they're alive today, and we're able to write their story.
We're talking with Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos about her book, Dreams That Can Save Your Life. Check out her website. It's her name, KathleenO'KeefeKanavos.com. Your book features a number of stories, and these are all people, I think it's men and women, that had dreams that, as the title says, they basically saved their lives, right?
Yes, it did, and there are quite a few men in here, and some of them are actually practicing doctors, which is really amazing. So the book has come a long way. It's brought people a long way, and maybe dreams are, this idea of going back to the future is finally taking root, and people are starting to listen to their dreams, and maybe this book is going to make a big difference.
So what is, you have some doctors involved here. What do they say about this, and what does the scientific community say about this in the minute we've got before we have to jump to break here?
Well, the doctors who are in the book actually had dreams that saved their lives. Some of them had lung cancer. Others had other types of cancers. And they were working doctors in the medical community, and their dreams actually saved their lives because they had the dreams first, then they went and to their doctors and requested tests, and sometimes they were told, look, there's nothing there. And then they would go home, and boom, the next day they would find the cancer and go back, and the pathology reports would confirm it. So there's something really interesting happening here.
Yeah, something really going on. I think that's the most intriguing part of this whole thing. All right, the phone number is 844-687-7669. Again, toll free at 844-687-7669. We're going to take a quick break. More to come. You're listening to Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll be back after this.
When you listen to this program, you hear many interesting guests who discuss many interesting topics. Most of those guests have books, movies, or other work that support their ideas, and we've made it very easy for you to find that work. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. Not only will you find the books and other work of our guests, but you'll help support this program at the same time. Again, it's Amazon.com/shop/JVJ-Taps. You'll also see links in the description of this episode that you can click on. We can only scratch the surface of many of these topics, and the real knowledge is what you'll find in the pages or frames of our guests' efforts. So click the link and browse, and hey, thanks for listening. And the second part of our program, we've been talking about dreams that can save your life. That's the title of a book by Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos. She's a 3-time breast cancer survivor, also an author, a motivational speaker. Her website is KathleenO'KeefeKanavos.com. And Kathleen, I want to talk about one of the stories, and I know there are many in the book, but it's intriguing. And since this show airs at after midnight on the East Coast, I think we can get away with this one. But the title is "Warning: Do Not Have Sex." What is that about? what kind of dreams are involved here?
I had her on my show tonight. I have a video podcast that I do, and her name is Athena Kalinsky. And what happened was she had broken up with her boyfriend, her previous boyfriend, and she was dating someone new. Things were getting hot and heavy, and they were kind of moving toward the next level of their relationship when she broke out on a rash on her thighs and other places down there. And she thought, well, that's strange. I wonder if my past boyfriend gave me something. Mm-hmm. And so she went to the doctor, that night she had a nightmare, and in the nightmare it said, "Do not have sex." This voice kept saying to her, "Do not have sex." So she went to the doctor the next day, and the doctor said, "Well, let's do some tests on this. I don't know what it is." And the doctor said to her, "Do not have sex until we find out what this is." And so she, was upset because she was afraid that if she told the new boyfriend about this, he wasn't going to want to date her anymore. And she didn't know what it was. She went back to the old boyfriend, and he said, "No, it's nothing that you got from me. There's no way." And so it turned out that she had switched tampons. And the new tampons that she was using had a glue in it that she was allergic to. So and it turned out that she had that allergic reaction all over, everywhere down there. And so if she had had sex, it could have caused some real problems inside of her body. And it's real possible that her mate, her sexual mate, would have gotten something too. So in a case like this, it wasn't life-threatening. It was relationship-threatening, and maybe, it would have put the skids on her dating life for a very long time while she tried to clear up whatever was inside of her at that point. But this shows you where, it's important to listen to your dreams, trust them, go and get the help that you need, and be really smart, especially when it comes to things like this in dating.
When before we went to the break, I asked you about the doctors that were included in your book and what they thought. And obviously, if they experienced this, they had a dream that actually did, in fact, turn out to be a life-saving dream. Obviously, they're going to be believers. But what does the medical community say in general, and what does the scientific community say? Does anybody look at this and say this is a real phenomenon, or do they just say this is just lucky dreaming?
I think they have to be really, really careful about what they say. The pharmaceutical companies pretty much own the hospitals, so they've got to be really careful about what they say. And I believe that doctors they're in the profession they're in because they want to help people. They really do. And so I think that because the pathology reports that were medical pathology reports from those hospitals validated the dreams, suddenly doctors are probably going to take a slightly different interest in this because there is no woo-woo in it. The doctors, the hospitals, their pathology reports, their medical reports validated these dreams. It was a double-blind study. A lot of the doctors didn't even know about the dreams, and then they did the tests. Other doctors did know about the dreams and went ahead and gave the second set of tests. So, I don't know what they're thinking yet. The book has only been out for a little over a month and a half, and it went to the Amazon #1 bestsellers list 12 hours.
Wow.
After it went live.
That's terrific. Is this something that as we mentioned earlier in the discussion, not everybody has the ability to do this, or at least understands that they may have the ability to do this. Is this something that people can learn or induce, or in some way develop some type of ability to control it?
I believe that we're all born with the ability to dream. I believe we do dream, and there are studies now that show that the fetus in the womb actually starts dreaming, I think, at 22 weeks. There's REM, rapid eye movement. I think that as we grow up, we put our dreams away with our toys, and we're told to focus on things that we can see, feel, touch, smell, uses the 5 senses, not dreams. But the truth of the matter is, when you dream, you use your whole brain. When you're breathing, you're only using a part of your brain. When your heart is beating, it's only using another part of the brain. But when you dream, your whole brain is involved in dreaming. And why would we be doing something that takes 1/3 of our whole life? It's got to be important. So I think that I'm hoping that this book brings the focus back on dreams. I believe everybody is born with the ability to dream. We may forget how to dream. We may become so busy that when we go to bed at night, we're so tired that we drop into a really, really deep sleep. And then when we wake up so quickly to an alarm clock that we can't bring our dreams out with us. And when that happens, we think we didn't dream, but we did. So I think that, yes, we can train ourselves to remember our dreams because we're always dreaming.
Well, do you think life just needs to slow down a bit, though, in order for us to be able to do that? Because you make a good point. For a lot of times, well, most will tell you that you need to remember your dream within the first 60 seconds or whatever of waking up in order to keep it. You need to think about it in order to remember your dream. But the fact of the matter is, the way we wake up, it's always wake up and you're on the go. Do you think we need to slow down as a race in order to be able to take that time to remember the dreams?
I think that what we need to do is when we're waking up, we need to wake up more slowly so we can bring our dreams with us instead of, running through those dream doors and letting them slam behind us. Walk through them slowly. Hold on to that dream as though it were a bird and bring it out with you slowly. And in the book, there's a chapter in there that has So Dream as the acronym to help you remember your dreams and bring them out. And one of the things that I tell people to do when they say, I can't remember my dreams, I can't bring them up with me, is maybe give yourself an extra 2 minutes, just 2 minutes in the morning when the alarm clock goes off. Don't move. Stay in the position you're in. Open your eyes slowly and focus on what you were just dreaming. Think about the colors. Think about what you're feeling when you first wake up and slowly bring that dream out with you.
Kathleen, you mentioned something about fetuses dreaming at 22 weeks. That just fascinates me. And I know this is not what your book's about specifically, but what could a fetus be dreaming of with no experience in life?
Well, they hasn't had any experience in this life yet, but maybe they're dreaming about the angels or whatever is beyond that room between realms that I went into with the monks, because that's where they came from. And that's what they're dreaming about. Their brain is working, their heart is beating, their blood is flowing, they're moving, so their brain is working. And if our whole brain is involved in dreaming, then before we're even born, we're in a dream.
It's fascinating. Tell us a little bit more about Dr. Larry Burke's work, because that is the foundation for a lot of what you've written about.
Yes. Dr. Larry Burke is a radiologist at Duke University, and he is a working radiologist. So he was working with women who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And he found that there were these women coming into him who were saying, I dreamed my breast cancer before I started treatment. And then he had a friend that I mentioned earlier who had a dream that she had breast cancer. When she went to her doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you, go home, I'll see you in 6 months. And when she came back in 6 months, it had metastasized throughout her body, and she died. And that was one of the things that made him decide he wanted to do a dream research breast cancer study. And so he started looking for women who had dreams that diagnosed their breast cancer, and I was one of them. I was actually the only one that had done it 3 times. So he heard about my first book, Surviving Cancerland, looked it up online, and saw that my dreams were in there. And then he found the other women who were in the study. There were 18 other women in the study, and started doing his research. And when he was all finished with all the research, I said to him, so, Larry, what do you want to do with all this? And he said, well, it's published. A lot of it's published in medical journals. And I said, yeah, but what about all the other people out there? All the other women, all the other men, families, husbands. And he said, well, what do you suggest? And I said, why don't we write a book? So long story short, we got into a bidding war with our proposed book proposal. We didn't even have the book done. We had 3 chapters done, wow. One of which was Bernie Siegel's foreword, and my chapter and Larry's chapter. My agent sent it off to the publishing houses. They went into a bidding war within 2 weeks, and then we had a great contract that was given to us, and we signed that. We were given 4 months to finish this book, and we only had 3 chapters. And then the stories just started pouring in from social media, from friends, people who came out of the woodwork and said, I never told anyone this before, but, and that was the beginning usually of their chapters. And then the book was published 5 months later. It went to the top of the Amazon bestsellers list 12 hours after it went live. And now I'm talking to you about it on this radio show.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. Amazing. I want to know what the cocktail party effect is.
People ask that all the time. Well, you know how it is when you walk into a party and there are groups of people standing around talking all through the room, and so the noise level is very high. You can't even hear somebody calling to somebody else across the room. You don't hear anything. So you get into your group, and you're talking with your group, and all of a sudden, somebody all the way across the room in another group talks about your ex. And it's like your ear just kind of grows off the side of your head, hits the floor, slithers across the room, and comes up right in the middle of their group. You can hear everything they're talking about all the way across the other room, even though you're still in your group and you're smiling and nodding at the people, but your eyes have glazed over because you're listening to the other group who, called your name or called an ex's name or said one of the other trigger words like blood or cancer or death or vampire. I mean, that's a big one, vampire. So when we're dreaming, a lot of times we have a lot of noise going on in our dreams. Our dreams are not quiet. We have a lot of people in our dreams. We have a lot of conversations going on in our dreams. We just generally have noise. Sometimes we're in a city. So often, just before we wake up, if there's something important that we need to know from our spirit guides, guardian angels, because I believe we're born with them, we're their job, and they take that job seriously, they'll call our name just before we wake up, and then they'll say something. And it'll shock us so much that we tune out all the other noise in the dream. And as we're coming out of our dream, boom, we're able to bring it with us.
Kathleen, we're going to run out of time here in just a couple minutes, but I want to talk about the 7-letter acronym SO Dream. This is what you use to remind you of the steps needed to retrieve your dreams. Tell us what they are. We got a couple minutes left here.
Okay, so it starts with the letter S for so, and that's to set your intention. Before you even go to sleep, before you close your eyes, set your intention. I want to remember my dream. I want to meet my spirit guides. And then O is organize yourself. Before you go to sleep, before you shut your eyes, put your pencil, paper, smartphone, some kind of a device to record your dream beside your bed. Then dream. Know you're going to dream. You do dream. You just have trouble remembering it, but you do dream. And set that intention, I will dream. Then E is for emotion, and that refers to the part or snippets of the dream that stick in your mind when you wake up. They're creating a physical response, like you wake up laughing or crying or in a cold sweat. Then add to that dream by asking yourself, what colors did I see before I woke up? What sounds, words, people, animals? And then M, meaning. What do those small snippets in the dream mean to you? Not anybody else. I mean, you can go to a dream dictionary if you want to, but these are meanings for you. Your dreams are yours. And then give your dream a title, so that if during the day you have a daydream and it opens up the door to your night dream and gives you information that you forgot, you know where to put it.
Oh, that's great.
Well, we've had a great time talking with you. Again, the book is Dreams That Can Save Your Life. I don't think that any other dream could be nearly as important as a dream like that.
No, this is definitely one of the most important ones.
And again, Kathleen, you said the book was available where again?
Oh, it's available in Barnes & Noble. It's in Amazon. It's published and distributed by Inner Traditions, Simon & Schuster, so you can get it anywhere. You can get it on my website, too. The link is there. You can click on it and get the book. And for all your listeners tonight, when they go to my website, there is a free download gift for them. All they have to do is put the name of your show in there. That will go until 6 o'clock in the morning, and they can download a free Dream Video 101 course.
Well, Kathleen, you're incredible, and you've been through so much, and it's incredible to hear your story, and we look forward to talking to you again at some point.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure being on your show.
Thank you.
We'll talk again. Have a great night.
Okay, so again, if BRR, Beyond Reality Radio listeners want to go to Kathleen's website, it's Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, KANAVOS.com, and you just put in the name of the show and you get a free gift.
And make sure you tune in tomorrow. We've got Blanche Barton on, and we're going to be talking with her about, the Church of Satan. We'll be discussing Satanism, magic, Anton LaVey, and a lot more. So we got some great shows lined up. And then Thursday, first hour, we've got Readings with Rebecca, which we do pretty much on the first Thursday of every month. So make sure you call in early because the lines fill up pretty quick. In the second hour, we've got Kelly Carlin, the daughter of the legendary comedian George Carlin. She's going to be hanging out with us as well. So a bunch of great shows planned. Looking forward to it. Head over to facebook.com/Beyond Reality Radio, like the Facebook page for us. And also download the show from iTunes as a podcast and just rate it for us because it helps push it forward and makes it easier for people to find. That's going to do it for us tonight. It's Jason and JV, Beyond Reality Radio. We'll catch you all tomorrow.
Beyond Reality Paranormal is hosted by J.V. Johnson and produced by Orion Palmer and Slick Eddie Edwards. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please consider supporting the program either through your podcast platform, click on the link in the description, or on Patreon at Joha Productions. If you'd like to be a guest on Beyond Reality Paranormal or you have a recommendation for a guest, contact our producer, Slick Eddie Edwards. Eddie is spelled with a Y at slickeddieedwards@gmail.com.